but I just wanted to introduce myself in the video because my face is not in the majority of this video. But I'm so excited to be sharing with you guys how I study, the whole process, tips and tricks, foldables, study ideas, like everything that I have is in this video. So I hope you guys enjoy it and let me know what you guys think. If you like more videos like this, give this video a thumbs up and make sure to subscribe if you haven't. All right, let's get into the video.
Hey guys, so today I'm just gonna show you guys how I get started and start studying for a new class. So first I grab my planner and I'm gonna look at the days that I have, count how many days I have between this last test and my new test. So that's what I'm doing here, is I'm just counting the amount of days. In this particular week I had 11, so I write down all my clinicals and stuff. Then I count the amount of pages that I have between on my test. So I have my notes spiral bound. I do that at Staples for those of you that are wondering. And then I'm going to count the pages. So I had 53 pages and I divided it by the amount of days I had to study, which means I had 9 pages to study per day. So then I just go through my notes and count out those 9 pages. So that's what I'm doing here, is I'm counting out every 9 and then I'm putting a sticky note, which you'll see in a second. And the sticky note just tells me what day I have to memorize it by. So that one says Monday. Sorry, they're backwards, but yeah, it says Monday and then like Tuesday and so on and so forth. So I know how many pages, like when I have to stop studying. So that is my goal when I'm studying, is to reach my page for the day. So then I just get started, and the first step is to have all the information you need. So read your textbook if you need to, fill in your notes from her PowerPoints. That's what I'm doing here. And just making sure that you have all the information that you need with you on those pages, so that when you learn those 9 pages, you learn everything you need to know. So just fill those in, read through them, talk through them out loud, highlight what you think is important based on what she said in class. That's what I try to do. And usually I will write in my notes what the professor said in an important color, like red or orange, and then I'll go in with my own like black pen and add any information that helps me remember it. And highlighting it in that blue color that I'm using is what I use for when the professor puts emphasis on something. So that's really important, is to just use color coding to your advantage. And yeah, that's what I'm doing here. I'm just going through the information and writing it all out. So this is just me on another day doing that same thing. Another helpful tip can be using somebody else's notes that's already gone through the class. Maybe they have some important information that you missed or some explanations that you don't. So if you're able to get your hands on some of those, I recommend it. I will be selling mine very soon, so keep an eye out for that. But here is a method that I use to try to memorize, okay? So I will write the name of the drug, and then off the top of my head, without my notes, I will try to write out everything I remember studying about it, okay? So all those previous videos, I was studying the material, and at this point, I want to make sure that I know it. So how do you know without someone quizzing you? Just put away your notes and write at the top of the page, or fold the page into the amount of quadrants you need, and just try to fill everything out from your own memory. So here in this blue color is everything I remembered about these cardiac meds in the blue. And as you see, I pulled out my notes and filled in the information that I forgot, and then I'm studying that. So everything in that orange I forgot, and I drew a line and started over in the blue, and that check mark means that I learned it all. So I do that repeatedly to try to learn the information. I wake up early in the mornings, that's what I'm doing here, and I just write and rewrite, because that is what helps me memorize, is rewriting. So that's what I'm doing here. Now it's a new day and I'm headed into the library, and this is my school's library, yay! Getting a study room or a private room is something I really recommend, because it helps you focus and gets rid of all those distractions. So here I am in a study room. I will do this once I feel like I sort of understand the information a little bit more. I've gone through it, I've read it. I mean, there's only so much you can do by staring at a page. So when I've reached that point, I get a study room. And here I am just talking to myself like a crazy person about the information. So I will say, like, for example, can I talk? Myocardial infarction. And I will just go through everything I remember. So what are some risk factors? How can a person get this? So obviously hypertension, diabetes, obesity. I'm just talking to myself about the material, because if you can explain it to yourself, you really have a good understanding of what's going on. So obviously I'm doing that here, and it just helps me be able to go through the material in a way that makes sense in my own brain. So I highly recommend doing something like this. Even if it's in your own room, you do not have to go to the library to do this, obviously. So I'm just going through some of the material from the top of my head. And now a great tip that's really helped me throughout all of nursing school is what you see me doing here. I wrote MI at the top of the board, and here I am doing it all from my memory, writing it out on the board. And this is so key, because if you are not doing things from your memory, you are just always having your notes in front of you and reading them, you are not going to be able to test how much you really know. So I really recommend getting away from your notes, trying to write it out from memory, and then when you check your notes to see what you've missed, I promise that learning process will be so much greater. For those things you missed, you won't forget them anymore if you just go over them. So here I am, another early morning, going through my notes before class, making sure that I've understood the previous day's information before I go in and learn more information. So more whiteboards, more rewriting, without my notes, y'all. Without the notes, getting away from those is the most important thing. So have some fun with your studying, go through it, make sure that you know that information, that you're quizzing yourself, that you're reading, watching videos. Registered Nurse RN is a great resource to use. I will link her in the description. Just the more you can saturate your mind with that information, the better off you'll be. Print pictures off the internet if you have to glue into your notes, make them a scrapbook, put some love into your study. Speaking of putting love into your studying, this is another of the methods that I use. You guys will have seen it as the sticky note method on my Instagram. So, for example, there's like 10 functions of the liver that I'm pointing out here. And this is another section, the major results of liver disease. So I've obviously typed out 10 or 8 blanks for the major results. So those are what they are, and I've memorized them and then practiced writing them out on the sticky notes next to the blanks. I've only filled them in the night before the exam as my final practice and ripped off all the practice sticky notes. But yeah, that's just how I do it, is I will type up on a Word document however, like what the topic is in my notes. For example, here's another one, hepatitis A. So you see all those little bullet points. I will go over to my Word document and type up things like transmission, what is the incubation period? And it's just a way to test my method, like making your own worksheet. And doing this on Word does take some time, but if you just wake up early, like 1 extra hour a day or something, you can definitely type this up and have it as a great resource for yourself to quiz yourself. So you'll see it's pretty big, but it's totally worth it in terms of studying. So just use sticky notes and cover up those blanks and practice writing and rewriting what the answers are. If you get some wrong, highlight it and then put another sticky note on top of it. Just repetition of the bullet points that are in your notes and then rewriting them over onto your practice study guide is super helpful. At least it was for me in memorizing through nursing school. And yeah, the night before the exam, you go through it one last time, see what you know, what you don't know, and what things you could review in the morning before your exam. So I just wanted to show you guys because I get a lot of questions on the gram, and that's the sticky note method. So one more method that you guys have been asking me about is how I make these little foldable study guides. So there's just a foldable I create that you can write a lot about under specific tabs, which is great for nursing school because we have a lot of diagnoses, signs and symptoms, like a bunch of stuff that we need to have categorized. So this is a great tool to study with. So I'm going to show you guys how I do it because I get asked. Grab some sheets of paper. You don't know, you're gonna have to count and see how many little tabs you want to have, and that determines the number of pages you need to have. But for this one, it creates a 5-tab foldable, and I use 3 sheets of paper. So here I am, and the first step is to stagger your sheets of paper so that they have like a little centimeter or so in between, and then you're gonna fold that sheet of paper in half. So that's what it looks like at the top. And if you fold that paper in half, you'll see the end of it on the back side is also staggered. So when you fold it, it's kind of magical. So there you go. You'll see it as soon as you do it, and you'll know if you need to add pages or not as you go. But that's just a rough example using lined paper because copy paper is expensive. So yeah, you just fold it and then you would staple it up at the top. And then you have the ability to label the big flap at the top with what the topic is, and then you can go ahead and label each individual tab with whatever you want to put. So like I said, signs and symptoms, diagnostic tests, what to look for,
just some ideas. My foldable you saw earlier was on dysrhythmia, so I did one for all of the dysrhythmias. And it's just a great way to categorize your information in one place and make your notes mobile. So there you go. Once you staple it, you can fold up the tabs and write all you want inside of it and use it as a little study tool. So, like I said, got a lot of use out of mine, was able to take it with me when I had some extra time to study, and it was great. Alrighty guys, there you have it. That's what I do to study. I do these things in different variations depending on the content, but those are really the tools that I use to be able to memorize and study and get the best grades possible through nursing school. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know if you have any more questions, and make sure you like and subscribe and stay tuned for more nursing content.